What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show, brought to you today by Oakley. They have established themselves as the sunglasses company made for activities, but they also have eyewear made for everyday use as well. When you wear Oakley, there is more than meets the eye. We're going to be doing eye test versus nerd test today on Domingo German because he pitched a perfect game. Scott, I think I have a very unique experience in how I consumed that perfect game. So let me tell you. So
I feel like there's vomit involved.
No vomit. No
vomit. Oh,
no vomit.
Man. Okay.
Well, maybe some vomit, but just not from the person you thought it would be from. Yeah. So last night, we're recording this Thursday evening. So Wednesday evening, which is
Wednesday late night. Everybody woke up if you didn't stay up for the game.
Yep, West Coast game. So I went to bed after the Stanton home run, and I think that was
what inning was that?
I think that was the fourth inning. It was about 11 o'clock at night is when I went to bed, because that's when Lucy has been going to sleep. She gives us like a 4-hour stretch, which is nice to start the night. But then, around 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be up and we're going to be feeding her, changing her, blah, blah, blah. So
I do not blame you for going to sleep with this situation. Okay. Yeah. Normally normally I know you don't stay up for West Coast games anyway. I'm the lunatic that in the past has, but yeah, no fault on this one at all.
Well, thank you.
And it was a blowout game too.
Well, but it was 1-0 when I went to bed, but still I'm not getting much sleep tonight. It's the Oakland A's. Hopefully the Yankees hold on to this nail biter, right? Like after not scoring in the first game of the series. But when I woke up at whatever it was, 2-3 in the morning, I just looked at my phone to check the score and I saw 11-0. And I was like, beautiful. They blew them out. Great. Like I'll check out the highlights in the morning. Lucy, let's get you fed and let me get back to sleep. I didn't see anything else. So I did not look at like the box score. I did not see that German pitched a perfect game. I wake up this morning with Harrison about 6:30. And what I've been doing for these West Coast games is I'll put on the condensed game while I'm like making coffee and getting Harrison some food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just pressed the condensed game on. I did not see anything, right? So I still at this point do not know that German pitches a perfect game. I only know the Yankees won 11-0, and I'm just curious how they scored all of their runs. So I'm watching this condensed game, which is 9 minutes long. And as it's going, they're talking about German pitching a perfect game. And I'm like, holy shit, he's pitching a perfect game. And so it's like, I'm kind of living the perfect game stress that everyone else was living. It's just in a 9-minute condensed fashion at 6:30 in the morning the next morning, because I legitimately did not see any headlines. I did not know he pitched a perfect game until I saw it at the end. Then obviously what happened was he pitched a perfect game. And so I just feel like that's got to be the only person out there to know the score, but not know that the starting pitcher pitched a perfect game.
Well, and everybody who consumes their content now in shorts as well, and just like, is flipping through to get the micro versions of someone's podcast and or highlights, because I think I have a feeling a lot of people found out that way too, not paying attention. West Coast game, Yankees, Oakland, like the world was not paying attention. And I can promise you that MLB was sitting there on the edge of their seat being like, no, Domingo, don't do it. This is a guy that's had obviously a checkered past with a domestic abuse suspension, and with the most recent suspension for having a foreign substance on his hand. Major League Baseball wanted him not to do this. I mean, it's the 24th in Major League history, which is crazy. It's still one of those feats that is extremely.
This is not rare. A no-hitter. This is not no-hitters. No-hitters, like we saw Corey Kluber do the no-hitter a couple years ago for the Yankees.
Who Higgy also caught.
Perfect games are definitely that next level of rare. Has not happened in baseball since 2012, Felix Hernandez. So this is 11 seasons we haven't seen a perfect game.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy, especially when you think about how down offense has been, with across the league with individual.
Show you how hard it is to pitch a perfect game, even against Oakland, who's a bad team. Like, no. Like, I'm not taking anything away from German's achievement. He was unbelievable. You have to be unbelievable. You don't have to be an unbelievable pitcher to pitch a perfect game, but you have to be unbelievable on that given night to pitch a perfect game.
Well, no shit. You literally have to be perfect. You can't falter in any way. Nor can your defense. Yep. That's the other piece of it that doesn't get a lot of play, is the defense has to be perfect. And I wouldn't say that there were a ton of like close calls. The Rizzo ball down the first base line was probably the closest to a hit that I can remember, that he covered up and threw a BB right to German crossing the bag. But, for the most part, he was in control of the whole thing. And I did stay up. I watched, it became a blowout, and I'm like, well, I can't go to sleep now at this point. Like, I'm already here. And for whatever reason, I end up staying awake for a lot of these games. I think of the first one, I was the 2-1 loss. I'm sitting in bed. I finally went into the bedroom, and I'm sitting there watching it on my phone like a complete asshole. And, but yeah, the German at the end, man, it's like you're getting nervous. You're feeling the energy of him. You can tell that he's acting a little different, a lot of deep breaths, a lot of like, Higgy's even probably trying to be completely perfect at that point too. Like, what do I call it? It becomes tormenting, I think, for all the people involved. Everybody who's playing the field is just like Game 7 of the World Series, ready for the ball coming to them, because you can't screw this up. You can't be the guy that screws this up.
Well, you've heard Paul O'Neill talk about that, right? You've heard O'Neill talk, because O'Neill caught the last out of Wells's perfect game.
Yeah.
And he said that was one of the hard, even though that was a routine fly ball to right field, he said that was one of the hardest catches he's ever had to make.
Yeah, because you get in your head. You're getting in your own head. Even though you've done it 1,000 times, you're getting in your own head, knowing that if you screw this up, you screw this one thing up, it's blemished forever. Oh, and there's an asterisk on the perfect game, the last one for Felix Hernandez, right? Because the dude from the Tigers, that was a perfect game, wasn't it? Or was that a no-hitter? I think that was a perfect game.
That was a perfect game. Was that after 2012 though? Yeah.
Right?
I don't remember when that was.
I'll check the year, but
we don't have Logan and Ilian here.
I know. Galarraga
for us. I think so. Wasn't it Jim Joyce? It
was Jim Joyce, and I felt so terrible for Jim Joyce, because Jim Joyce knew that he screwed up, came out and owned every second of it, and felt probably
that doesn't
worse
happen
than
today.
That's true. That does not happen today.
That gets replayed.
Well, there've been plenty of calls that we all know are one way, and then for whatever reason, that would be the end of baseball. That would be the end of baseball if that happened and they replayed it.
I don't know what season that was. That might have been after 2012. I think it was in that general time frame, though.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
But
here we go.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about German's perfect game, obviously, and just like some of the things we saw and some of the pitch breakdown. We're going to
2010.
So that was before Felix.
It was before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some analysis on German's perfect game, and just like why I think it's a little bit of a conflicting situation as a Yankees fan is brought to you by Oakley. Eye test versus nerd test is brought to you by Oakley. There's more than meets the eye with Oakley sunglasses thanks to their amazing prism technology. Go to oakley.com for more information and find a pair of Oakley sunglasses for your needs, whether that is golfing, baseball, going to the beach, running, or just everyday use. Thank you to Oakley for sponsoring Eye Test versus Nerd Test. So, as we said, first perfect game since 2012. German lost his uncle earlier this week, so it's just some emotional baggage, some added emotion to the entire thing. He talked about how that was extremely upsetting for him, and he was I think he said he was crying in the clubhouse prior to the start or prior to the game. His previous two starts coming in, he got crushed, 15 earned runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings pitched, 15 hits, 5 home runs. As you said, Higgy caught the perfect game. He also caught Kluber's no-hitter a couple years ago. Higgy had an interesting quote after the game that you pointed out, that he said if there's anyone on the staff that he thought could do something like this, it was German. And
which is kind of crazy when you have Garrett Cole staring you in the face.
He doesn't catch Garrett Cole anymore, so maybe he's a little salty.
Ooh, maybe. He kind of doesn't catch German all that often either. After we looked at it,
no.
He does. He just didn't have the best success. It was the other way around.
So we were looking at the splits for German by catcher, and to Trevino, he's got a 1.35 ERA in 20 innings. That's 4 games pitched. To Higgy, 11 starts, 61 1/3 innings, and an ERA of where was it? I just at 5.43, and I think a lot of that is skewed from his previous 2 outings when he got crushed in both of those. His pitch mix in the perfect game was interesting. So out of 99 pitches in 9 innings, just like utter dominance there.
Yep.
He threw 51 curveballs. So more than half of his pitches were curveballs.
He was throwing that too in counts where, like in the 9th inning 2-0 count, or I think it was the 8th inning 2-0 count, curveball over. So he had a lot of confidence in that pitch last night as well, and it looked amazing. Obviously, it was a dynamic pitch, but you could tell that he had the most confidence in that pitch.
Yeah, and so he threw 30 fastballs, 17 changeups, and 1 sinker. And so the pitch mix isn't all that different from his normal arsenal. So prior to that start on the season, he threw 27% fastballs, 12% sinkers, 41% curveballs, and 20% changeups. And then last night was 30% fastballs, 51% curveballs, 17 changeups, and then just that 1 sinker. So definitely utilizing the curveball more. Like Higgy must have recognized like this pitch is lethal tonight. He's got a great feel for it. He can throw it for strikes ahead in the count, behind in the count, whatever it is. And so they were going to it more. And I think he was just able to, watching the condensed game anyway, and reading a little bit about it, he was just able to attack the Oakland hitters, and they were
for sure.
They were just. They're frankly not the best team. And so when you mix that with the fact that German was on his A++ game last night, you're going to get a perfect game. But what I am conflicted here is that I think
it's really, not a mystery. There's a lot of people conflicted about this because of who threw this no-hitter or perfect game. There's a lot of people talking about this.
It's not just blind of, yes, let's root for this guy. This is an awesome achievement. So happy, right? Like, I think back to when Mike Mussina lost his perfect game against the Red Sox back in 2001. I was sick for weeks, right? Like, because I like Mussina, awesome guy. Like, everyone loved Moose. And for him to lose that no-hitter with 1 out to go in the ninth, or that perfect game with 1 out to go against the freaking Red Sox and Carl Everett, like that made me want to throw up. You talk about vomit, that made me want to vomit right there. And then seeing German elated, obviously, and his teammates elated and them celebrating, part of me in the pit of my stomach is like, this doesn't feel right. I don't enjoy rooting for this guy. This is a guy who was suspended for Major League Baseball twice now. One for sticky stuff, whether you call it bullshit or not, rosin, whatever. Okay, fine. He was still suspended this season. But then, of course, obviously the domestic violence suspension. And just so he's gotten a second chance. Obviously, the Yankees have given him a second chance, and he's still on the roster. And we said back in 2019 after that happened, cut bait with this guy. He's not good enough to keep him on the roster. Here we are in
even if no, there was a caveat there. There was a caveat that we knew what sports does. Sports keeps you on the roster if you're good enough. Usually right. Sports will look the other way if you're good enough when you have something like this. It happens all the time in all sports, not just baseball. But at that point you're looking at it, you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What is the message that is being sent by having this guy on the team at that point? And you and I are both in agreement with that point. Cut bait, just move on with our lives. And, you're putting everybody in a position now where, of course, we're going to root for the Yankees. That's what we do. We root for the laundry. And it's not just that. Like, I don't want to just root for the laundry. I'm not here just rooting for the uniform. I like rooting for the guys. I like rooting and getting behind the people that are playing in the Yankees uniform. The Yankees uniform, of course, the team, of course, it's in my blood. It will never leave. But when you have the extra special guys in there, or the guys that you want to pull for, it just makes it that much more emotional, that much more, the fandom is pure at that point. When you have a guy that has something off the field that's egregious, that's unacceptable in any form or fashion, you're now putting us in a very difficult position because, of course, we're going to root for the Yankees. We want the team to win. We want that person to do well on the field because they are playing for our team. But I don't like the guy. And I think that, collectively, we kind of talked about this in the same way. We were on the same page with this, is that at some point he is on the team. We talk Yankees on this podcast. You have to separate baseball from the personal at some point, right? Like you have to look objectively at what's happening on the field at the baseball, and then you understand the context. It's complicated. There's nothing wrong with saying that this is complicated. Nothing wrong with having a conversation around it. It is what it is. And you feel what you feel about a particular person and a particular thing. I have gotten to a point now where I'm like, okay, it's baseball. This guy is playing baseball. I'm looking at what he's doing. I haven't forgotten about the other things. Probably never will forget about those things, but there's a whole lot behind the scenes that I don't know about at this point too. That was 4 years ago. I don't know. It's none of my business at this point. The people involved will handle it the way that they are.
They're married now and they have a child.
Yes.
So by all accounts, he has repaired his relationship with his then fiance, and they have a child, and they are happy. And
we don't know if they're happy, but they've repaired it, and that's what's happening.
Well, okay, but you know what I mean. Like from the outside, it looks all good, but you're right. It is very difficult to forget what happened. And you know, one thing that bothered me is something Boone said in his post-game press conference. He said, with all the adversity that German has had to overcome.
Okay. He's also not wrong. It is adversity. It is adversity, whether he did it to himself or was something that bad choices that he has made.
It's adversity, but I'm sorry, don't phrase it like that, because what that sounds like is this guy had a terminal illness that he got over and is back on the mound and pitching. Or this guy had a freak car accident, was rear-ended by was sideswiped by a drunk driver and fractured his leg in 12 places, and he's rehabbed and he's back on the field. No. This guy hit his fiance and got suspended, and then he got caught for using sticky stuff and got suspended. That's the adversity that Boone is talking about.
Yeah, no, it definitely depends on how you deliver that statement and how you talk about it. But anyway, the achievement on the field, absolutely unbelievable. The guy was pitching just flawlessly. He was dotting, he was fooling people. You couldn't get a lot of hard contact against him. He was rolling and seamless, and got to give a lot of credit to Higgy behind the dish as well for calling a game. I don't know how much, how that has changed, whether it's how much is the pitchers calling it or the catchers calling it, or it's just an agreed upon situation with the the new way you call pitches. You're not throwing signs down, you're hitting buttons. But yeah, it was a spectacular feat of baseball to watch, and I totally understand why certain people are feel a certain way about Domingo German and aren't overexcited for it. I was excited because of the feat. It was fun to watch in the moment. Watching the baseball, I thought was really cool to see that, because I don't remember. I was drunk when all the perfect games happened for the Yankees, and last night I was very 11. Sober. Yeah, I was very sober, and so it was cool to watch. It was cool to watch. All the guys were excited about it, and obviously this is a special thing that someone does on the field.
And I don't fault anyone for being super excited for this moment. Like, if you are rooting for German and the Yankees and you found this to be amazing and you're just nothing but joy, cool. Like, I understand that completely. I'm just telling you from my perspective, it was very conflicting having to see this happen. And the other thing that is going to...
And that's why I'm saying baseball did not want that to happen.
The other thing that's never going to go away is he's the fourth pitcher in Yankees history to throw a perfect game. Don Larson, 1956, Game 5 of the World Series against the Dodgers. I mean, that is a beloved moment in Yankees history. He was, Don Larson was a guy, he was a war veteran, okay, and he was a swingman that season, and a starter reliever, and he was not one of the best pitchers on the staff, but he had an amazing day in the World Series, and that is you pitch a perfect game.
It's iconic.
World Series. Yeah. It's an iconic baseball moment. David Wells, 1998 versus the Twins. Wells, obviously big game pitcher, fan favorite. He was the ace of that season of the greatest team in Major League Baseball history. David Cone, 1999 versus the Expos. That David Cone is obviously a beloved figure in Yankees history. Another big game pitcher, a team guy, a glue guy, a clubhouse leader. That day was Yogi Berra Day with Don Larson there as well. There was a rain delay in that game. Such a cool day, such a cool moment. And that was the last season that Cone was really at the top of his game. He fell off after that. I think age and miles on his arm caught up to him. But I mean, David Cone is iconic in Yankees history.
And
now Domingo German.
4 Ds.
4 Ds.
And there's also the story of the other 3 and what happened with the New York Yankees on each of those years.
All championship seasons. But I'm sorry. Domingo German is now in that list of 4. we don't talk about Corey Kluber's no-hitter. Okay.
No.
That happened 2 seasons ago. I
barely remember it.
I haven't thought about that until today because of the perfect game. Doc Gooden's no-hitter, I think, is a little bit more special because it was Doc Gooden and what he meant to the city of New York and the adversity he overcame, even if it was self-inflicted adversity. But he was also, I think his father was sick at the time. Also a championship season for the Yankees. But that's another one where if back in 1996 I was not 8 years old and I was 35 years old doing a podcast, I'm sure sports radio in 1996 was talking about how it's a little conflicting to root for Doc
Not
Gooden.
In 1996. Nobody gave a fuck.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying. And what Doc Gooden did was completely self-inflicted. I'm sure you can say he did cause harm to others, but it was mostly harm to himself. And so a drug problem, you can forgive a little bit more than what her mom
It's different.
did.
It's totally different. It's not even a
different.
Forgiveness thing. That's an illness.
It's an understanding addiction. Yeah. And it's just like now, 50 years from now, 40 years from now, whatever, we're going to be, maybe there won't be another perfect game because they're freaking rare. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In Yankees history, maybe there won't be another perfect game. And in 30 years from now, we're still talking about the 4 Ds and Domingo German is one of them. And that's not great. It's just not great.
It's just weird because you have the rest of it's going to come with that. The rest of it's going to come with it when you talk about Domingo German. That will always come with who he is, because I promise you that his baseball career will not be an illustrious baseball career that you'll be like, you know what, this guy dominated for years and years and years. That's not what we're going to see in the future. We're not going to see Domingo German become, Cy Young and all of a sudden, be the top guy on this rotation. He's going to have days where he gets shelled, and he's going to have days where he looks really good. And some of those days he might have sticky shit on his fingers. Some of those days he may not. But yeah. Anyway, it was a great day for him. It was a great day for the Yankees. The Yankees put they finally, after that 2-1 loss in the first game of the series, which you could just see the visible frustration on all their faces, because and it felt different to me. It felt different because it's that they knew that they needed to win these games. That they are walking in saying, we have to win these games. We can't lose these games to this team. We can't, the way that we're struggling. So I could see the pain in their faces after they lost that 2-1 game and just couldn't execute at all offensively. And you're just sitting there like, oh, here we go again. These guys are going to go to the West Coast and get nabbed by the Oakland A's. Even though the Oakland A's did have a decent run, which I didn't even see half the time. They were talking about it on the broadcast about they had a 7 or 8 game win streak. Then they've come back down to earth. They have some young talent that on the team, but they're not a good baseball team. They're not a good baseball team, and the Yankees need to take care of business. And they did. The next 2 games, they did. They scored a whole bunch of runs, and they started getting their bats. And Anthony Volpe, since the stance, I know we got some numbers there, but he's been phenomenal. And this, even on the first game, he went 3 for 4. That first ball that he was out to the second base hit the ball hard. Like he's been seeing the ball well, hitting the ball hard, and covering the plate. He's been great.
Since the stance change on June 13th, 45 plate appearances for Volpe, a .333 batting average, 422 on base, 961 OPS, 13 hits, 6 walks, 12 strikeouts.
Yeah, I mean, like you look for that improvement. This is what we talked about. And the comparison that's been made, because it's easy, is Judge. You go level to level to level. You struggle on the top. You make the adjustment, and now you look to see what the player has after the early struggles. And whether he get it from a fellow minor leaguer or a hitting coach on the Yankees, who I don't know what the hell they do every day, but adjusted his stance and adjusted the way that he approaches the at-bat at the plate. And ever since then, he's looked a hell of a lot more confidence. And that's it. Like, confidence in a young guy can go so far because he's got the talent. If he's got the ability and belief that every time he steps up in that box, he's got a really good chance to win, and that he's the best player within the matchup, the talent's going to take over, and you're going to see good results. And that's what I think we're seeing. I think we're seeing a confident guy who knows he can play baseball.
Yeah, multi-hit games in all 3 games of the series. You're right, though. That Tuesday 2-1 loss, they scored 1 run versus the worst pitching staff in Major League Baseball. Oakland has over a 6-team ERA, which we saw in the next 2 games when the Yankees scored double-digit runs each of those nights. Yankees went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, and their record now in 1-run games is 11-14. We've talked about this over and over again, but it just continues to get worse in those close games. They just don't seem to be able to win those games.
Yeah, and it's the offense. It's definitely, in the past when you're looking at that stat, I think it's a little deceiving actually. And this is where we need one of the guys to look some shit up for us. But in the past, when we have that dominant bullpen, you're going into those 1-run leads or those 1-run games with a lead. Whereas a lot of the Yankees are trailing and they need to get a big hit to come back. And it's the offense that's failing them. Whereas in the past, this stat was always dominant for the New York Yankees, always dominant for the last 10 years. They've had a significant bullpen that's closed the door, and you give them a lead and that's it. And we're just on the other side of that right now where the offense needs to pick it up because the bullpen's been doing a good job. And I know I've talked about this, like there hasn't been that solid number 1 guy in the closing spot. And I think that does matter to a particular degree, but when the offense is reeling and you can't get the lead going in and your pitching staff is keeping you in it, it's all about getting that big hit. And that's what they're not doing.
Yeah, and especially on Tuesday, again, with the 0 for 5 runs in scoring position, inability to manufacture runs, but then you compare that to their 6-run rally on Wednesday, where they didn't hit a home run to still score the 6 runs in the fifth inning.
Volpe it was beautiful. That inning was absolutely gorgeous. It was one of my favorite innings of the season.
Volpe had a bunt. Mm-hmm. Stole a bag. Uh-huh. And so it's like so many of those little things that you saw them doing. You're like, why couldn't you have done 5% of this the night before and maybe you win 3-2 instead of losing 2-1? You're right. It's not the pitching staff. Again, we need somebody to look this up, but it felt like for a while, if the other team got to 3 runs, the Yankees were going to lose 3 runs.
We're going to do this old school. We never had anybody to look this up in the past.
But didn't it feel like, I feel like from the second half of May and the first half of June, if the other team got to 3 runs, the Yankees weren't winning the game.
Oh, for sure. It's the offensive problem. This is here's where I'm like, I'm conflicted on what to feel, because in the years prior, you're looking at the regular season, they're scoring a whole bunch of runs. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, the offense goes away because they're going up against the best pitching. They're going up against, a lot of opportunities where situational hitting matters more than in the.
You're not facing the Oakland A's pitching staff in October.
Yeah, you're not facing. It's just high pressure, high leverage, and there was just like no execution for the last 4 years. No execution with the offense. And you and I have had this argument. Which is it? Which is the problem? Is it the pitching? Is it the hitting? And I've always said that it's the hitting. The hitting has been the problem because come playoff time, the pitching actually has been fine. Whether it was a starter not going deep in a game, the bullpen would come in and pick them up, but the offense could never get the big hit, and that is why they have lost series in the playoffs. That is why the Houston Astros have come in, because they've been better in situational hitting and been able to execute in those moments. And now we're looking at the complete opposite, where during the regular season they're not hitting. So is this going to be like Bizarro world where the offense is going to start taking off later in the season in situations? That's what I don't know about, because they're not doing that now either. They're not hitting in situations. So you don't just all of a sudden be good at that. I could see how you can get bad at that after being good, but how do you get good at that after being bad?
And like you'll go through hot stretches. Like they'll go through spurts of where the offense looks better, and then when and if Judge returns, he'll obviously make the lineup more complete, and it'll just look better on the whole. But yes, in the playoffs, you're going to be facing better pitching. You're not going to score 11 runs. You're not going to get 6 hits on a given night with runners in scoring position in the playoffs, right? You just need 1 sometimes, though, and they weren't able to get just the 1. And that's where I think you and I maybe had the argument, is that we had that mailbag question, and I think last offseason or 2 off seasons ago, going through the numbers.
Hold on, let me remember the mailbag questions from 2 years ago.
No, it was a submission basically pointing out the fact that none of the championship teams, all these teams are are not scoring a lot of runs. They're getting hits with runners in scoring position, which is something the Yankees were not able to do. But it's not like the Astros were scoring 7 runs a game in the playoffs.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. It's the situational hitting. It's the hitting in the moment where you need to actually get a hit. Yeah.
And the Yankees lineup from 2017
true outcome
through 2022. Yes, it's 3 true outcome. And in October, when you're facing the elite of the elite pitching,
it becomes the 2 outcome. They either walk you or you strike out.
So that's not going to magically change in the playoffs.
Well, that's what I guess. And when you're looking at this team and the construction of it, it's just, you have Judge back and you hope, look, the past 2 days in theory, Anthony Volpe is that guy, right? Anthony Volpe can go and get a big hit. I still love the kid. I love him in big moments. I think he's got the moxie to do that. Like, I think he's going to be good in postseason. I do. I think he's got that in him.
The whole first month of the
season.
I've said
this. Hold on. I've said this the whole time because I do love the guy. And now I'm looking good again is IKF. IKF's another guy like that. He's just he feels like a gamer. And maybe he needed the adversity, like actual true adversity, for playing multiple positions. You put him in one position, it's like you're putting him in a box. You're not getting the most out of a guy and the ability that you can get from him if you're moving him around and putting him in these weird positions because he thrives in it. You playing second base the other night now too. He's played every position but first and catcher, even though he can play catcher, and I promise you he could play first base. But you get guys like that who can put bat to ball and move the lineup over and cause problems for the offense. Volpe bunting down the first baseline past the pitcher for a base hit. It was a beautiful bunt. It would have taken an absolutely perfect play by the pitcher.
Oh, we finally found a guy that can bunt on the Yankees because we never had one.
Young and dumb. I'm glad that Anthony Volpe, with his New Jersey upbringing, knows how to bunt. Someone did it right. I appreciate that. And I love that kid.
Late and close situations for Anthony Volpe in 50 plate appearances is hitting 306.
Okay, so he's only gotten better. That's awesome. Yeah, that's where legends are born. That's how you become a legend in pinstripes.
You know
do
what
whatever
else is
you
legendary? Do. His batting average is over 200 now.
Yeah. But again, doesn't matter at the end of the day when you perform in the big moment in the pinstripes. That's what you need. You need those guys who know how to perform in the moments that are the tightest.
Of
course. If you're just swinging out of your shoes looking for a home run because that's what you do, and you don't get that pitch because you're going up against a 1 or a 1A against the other very good team who's also in the playoffs, then it's just not going to work. But you have a guy who can scratch a run across, who can make the defense respect the fact that you might bunt down the first base line, or you might pull a ball into the hole between the shortstop and the third baseman. Now you're confusing the defense. Now we're talking about baseball. Okay. All right. And this is where I get excited and love all of the changes that they've made, because I think they've really brought a lot of this back into the game, which I appreciate.
Why do you think Luis Sojo is more beloved than Alex Rodriguez? It's because he got hits in big moments.
Well, there's other reasons, but yeah, you're right. You can be a guy that has big moments in big situations for the New York Yankees and getting wins, and you become immortalized. Mm-hmm. Anthony Volpe's not that guy. Anthony Volpe can be that guy, but he's also the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees. So.
You mentioned IKF. Last 90 plate appearances for him, he's hitting 294 with a 827 OPS, 4 homers, right. 17 RBIs, playing multiple positions. Hit the home run today on Thursday to help the Yankees come back. They were down early in that game. They scored 8 runs in the 6th inning. Volpe, another multi-hit game. Josh Donaldson, a massive home run. So since his great conversation,
he's had some terrible strikeouts too. Let's just
But since his great conversation with the great communicator, Aaron Boone,
who initiated that conversation?
I don't know.
Who stormed into the office? I'm pretty sure it was Donaldson.
All we know is it took a half hour and they just talked about some baseball stories.
Donaldson wouldn't let him leave the room. He's like, you're not leaving until you tell me that I'm playing every day. He had him in a headlock.
So he played all 3 games in Oakland. He did have a hit in all 3 games, extra base hit in all 3 games.
Yeah, and he's a vacuum. Like, that's the thing. That's the difference with a guy like this, is he's a vacuum at third. And
did you see that throw in the Herman Perfect game? He threw it up the line, and Rizzo had to make a crossover catch.
It was fine.
It
was fine. He's a guy that however old he is, he will be able to play third base. He'll be able to play third base until the end of time. He's just one of those guys. And when you have that, at least you have that, because you could depend on a Gold Glove third baseman. And yeah, if he starts hitting again, like what else are you going to do with him? You have to play him. You do.
Or DFA.
Or you just get rid of him, but you can't because of the glove.
If you're a pitcher for the New York Yankees and you're throwing a perfect game in the 8th and 9th inning, where's the last place? Who's the last person on the
Gleyber
diamond?
Torres?
It's not even close. It is not even close.
Yeah, it's 100% Gleyber Torres.
It's because he's going to boot that ball.
I just don't want it to happen. Yeah, I just don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. Everybody else on the diamond, I'm fine with. Billy McKinney in left field, sure.
IKF playing center field, no problem.
Yeah.
Maybe Gleyber Torres is just so out of it, he doesn't even realize there's a perfect game going on.
He has no clue, yeah.
No clue. Just regular. It's an 11-0 ball game in the 9th inning. Oh, what? No, perfect game? No one's reached base? I didn't know.
Why is everybody swarming German? Did he get popped again?
Yeah. I'm surprised Oakland didn't ask the umpire, hey, do you want to do a double check on his hand?
Yeah, the game's of a chip towards the end of that. You'd think it would want to. Oh man, you'd think it would ramp up for sure. He had to buckle down in that. I think it was the 8th inning where it was a 2-0 count, and there was just a 2-0 count, 8th inning, 2 outs. Like something, what's at stake here. That's a tough pitch, and he executed it. He was freaking good. He was freaking good.
Just wish I could be happy and not care about anything else. But
yeah, I was happy in the moment because I think it was awesome. It was a cool feat.
We got some news on Judge and Rodon, but before that, I want to tell you guys about Game Time is the easiest way to grab tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater, or whatever else you want to go to. Next week at Yankee Stadium is definitely the week you're going to want to go. 4 games against Baltimore, which is going to be a huge series, and then Carlos Rodón is supposed to make his return to the mound for making his Yankees debut. Now it's going to be against the Cubs is the latest, but you can grab tickets using Game Time. The app has a ton of cool features and is easy to use. Shows you trending tickets, what sections the best deals are in. It calls out cheap options and flash deals and much more so you can make an informed purchase. There's also event cancellation protection so you can buy with confidence. I love using the app because you get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect. And there are also images definitely taken by people, because you know how sometimes you'll go on like ticket apps or like something like that and it's like clearly a rendering of this of the where the seat is.
I don't know the rendering one. It's like an image.
Yeah, it's not like a real person picture.
Okay,
like this is like
I appreciate the person that's taking the picture for the seat, so I can.
There's like people in the stands, so you can see like it's like from a game. Someone was sitting in that section, maybe submitted a picture or something like that, which I think is good because like that's more of a true depiction of what the seat is going to be. The buying process is also super fast. It's just 2 taps and you're done. The tickets are set directly to your phone, so you don't have to go through your email to find them. And you can snag tickets today without stress using Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the app, create an account, use code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Thank you so much to Game Time for sponsoring us today. Judge.
Activity. We have activity.
He was a grown man wearing shorts.
Were they shorts?
I don't know. I'm assuming he was wearing shorts. It was the afternoon.
Probably.
He was playing catch. He was doing baseball activities, which is definitely a step. He said, it's just another step. I wouldn't say it's significant or not significant. There's a lot of steps we have to take to get back on the field. So this is just another step along the way.
Why is everybody... Meredith was doing the same thing. Everything's a step. Like, we get it, okay, guys? Like, if we're trying to make this big joke about the toe and the steps, I understand it. We get it. It was a joke. Ha. It's funny. Yeah. He's got to keep going. He's got to... It doesn't hurt. That's important, you know? He's starting to do things out there. He was there to congratulate Domingo German. He obviously took steps to get to the place on the field. to say congratulations. So I don't know, man. We'll see when he starts hitting. That's the big thing. If he can squish the bug, can he squish the bug? That's my question. Can you squish the bug with the big toe?
Did you see Nick Kirby, our friend Nick Kirby's tweet about Judge? No. I thought it was funny. He said, Judge refuses to wear a walking boot and is standing in the dugout the entire game. It doesn't take a PhD to know why the toe isn't healing.
Yeah, well, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on that foot. Ligaments, stretching. We don't know. That's the thing. That's what everybody keeps saying. The positive thing is that he's moving forward. Moving forward. We're still a ways away though, because until I see him destroying baseballs with a bat, you have no idea how close he is.
I mean, he also was quoted. Judge was basically saying, "Yeah, throwing doesn't put a lot of pressure on the foot anyway." So it's like it's the only baseball activity I was doing. If I was running, or if I was hitting, or if I was shagging flies, maybe this would be a big deal. But I'm literally just playing catch to keep my arm relatively.
His quote literally told you nothing on purpose. He's not being coy here. He's literally doing it on purpose. He's fucking with everybody. He's just saying it's not good. It's not bad. It's not significant. It's not insignificant.
Did you see the MLB app headline? Totally misleading. Judge resumes baseball activities.
Yeah, well, throwing a baseball is a baseball activity.
But no, sorry, it's not. He was named also. Judge was an all-star. I don't think he's going to be playing in that all-star game, but he was named a starter for the all-star. The rest of the starting lineup is Yandy Diaz at first, Marcus Semien at second, Corey Seager at short, Josh Jung at third, Jonah Heim at catcher. DH is Ohtani, and then Judge, Trout, and Arozarena in the outfield.
That's three Rangers on the infield?
Four.
Say them again?
Semien, Seager, Heim, and Jung.
Oh, Semien, yeah.
They've got 4 of the 5 infielders, the Rangers.
That's crazy.
The Rangers fans balled out for the ballot. Remember when the Royals that year voted in everyone, their freaking utility guy got more votes than some starters?
That was the year they won the World Series, wasn't it? Or the year after they won the World Series?
I think it was the year after they won the World Series. Or maybe, didn't they
go to
the World Series? Didn't they go to the World Series? It was to get that many people to do
Kansas something. Kansas City coming in droves like that for the votes was impressive.
I think it might have been the World Series year because it was the year after they went to the World Series and lost the World Series, because they went back-to-back years.
Yeah, they had that bullpen that was amazing. Yeah, I mean, look, this is I feel like we should earmark a Shohei Ohtani part of the show for every single week, because I've said this in the past, we need to really pay attention. And I'm not talking to when I say we, I don't mean you and me. I'm talking about all of us, everybody listening, everybody who's watching baseball. We really do need to pause and appreciate what the hell is happening right now. This guy struck out 10 dudes and hit 2 home runs in a game. That's ridiculous. I mean, he's godlike. He's otherworldly. This has never happened before. Babe Ruth doesn't have shit on Shohei Ohtani compared to the things that he's doing right now in today's game. For real, it's crazy. The fact that he in such a specialized game of today's age, the fact that he's going out here and doing these things is really unbelievable. I mean, it's really difficult to say that he's not the greatest baseball player that's ever played baseball. I'm not joking. Talent wise, he's the greatest player that's ever played baseball. How do you even argue against it? He's doing things that are just that different, and both sides of the ball at such a high level. It's crazy. It's a miracle that Aaron Judge won an MVP, and I'm glad he did, because,
like I said, he had to break the American League home run record to win that MVP. I really think legitimately, if Judge only hit 57 home runs last year, he doesn't win that MVP.
The fact that the Angels can't put together a playoff team with this guy and Trout is stupid.
For a decade plus, they haven't been able to make the playoffs.
And
the best.
I know
two
they
best
have a better team.
Baseball.
They have a better team this year. They hopefully can make some moves for them for Ohtani's sake, to get him into the playoffs, because baseball, the world, we want to see him in the playoffs. as a Yankees fan, I want to see him in the playoffs because I want to see the best players playing the game at the highest level in the biggest moments. And he is that guy playing in October. Like that's what we absolutely deserve. We deserve that. So when he becomes a free agent, if the Yankees don't put just a, you know, a little yacht full of dollars out to give this man an opportunity.
Where's he going to play?
Crazy.
They've got Stanton at DH.
Who cares? The marketing money alone for this guy, the amount of attention that you get from him will take care of the Stanton contract with no issues. It'll be a write-off.
Do you think Ohtani would be bigger nationally, pop culturally, if he was not on the Angels on the West Coast playing?
I do. I mean, if you were with the Dodgers, I think he would be a bigger deal.
He would definitely be a bigger deal with the Dodgers. But like, what if he was on the Phillies or the Red Sox? Like, I'm not saying the Yankees, because the Yankees are obviously the Yankees, but like an East Coast popular baseball team.
Yeah, I do. I think because I think that Japan's following no matter what, where he is, and yeah, I think that you have exposure on the East Coast in some of these bigger markets. And not to say LA is a small market, it's not, but it's the wrong team in LA. That's the market. And
it's the West Coast. Like I don't think that can go understated. It's the same reason why pitching a perfect game on the West Coast when you're an East Coast team is just, it's not going to be as big of a deal. It's because it's at 1:00 in the morning. Shit is happening.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that if he were on the East Coast with in a big market, that it would be a different scenario. I mean, and if he were a Yankee, it would be, I don't even know what it would be. It would be bedlam.
You know, the Mets have to
pandemonium in the Bronx. Is what
the Mets have to sign. The Mets will, I think, go
after him.
For him. Yeah,
Cohen. I mean, the way that the track record, what we've seen so far, yeah, he's going to throw everything at that guy.
How do you even quantify, like, legitimately what he is worth?
I don't know.
Annual salary level.
I don't know. Max Scherzer plus Aaron Judge. Like, for real?
It's like, oh, he's a top 5 offensive player and a top 5 pitching player.
Yeah,
so
that's $35 million.
$35 million times 2. Like, what? Like, it's
but that's insane. His value. That's what's crazy. That is actually his value. Why wouldn't it be?
I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I don't think he's going to get 70, 75, 80
He actually opens up a roster spot for you. He allows your team to be better because he can do 2 things at a very high level. So you should pay him like 2 players.
Yes and no, because he
no, it's just yes.
He opens up a roster spot, but he also clogs up a roster spot.
Why?
Because
figure this one out on the fly, please.
We talked about this when we were talking.
Why does he clog up a roster spot?
Because he's a DH. Okay, he's a DH and he's a pitcher.
That's a roster spot. That's a position.
Yes, but he then on the days he doesn't pitch, or excuse me, on the days he doesn't hit, he's pitching, and then when he comes out of the game, he can't hit anymore. So you have to carry another hitter. You have to carry an extra player that you wouldn't ordinarily. Like, you don't want to just lose your best offensive player whenever he's done pitching in the 6th inning. So you have to carry. You have to, like, it does create a roster.
Don't they do like can't you do a switch where you pull the left fielder?
If he goes into the outfield.
Yeah. So there you go.
He doesn't.
Well, maybe he will. But you're right. If he actually you would lose the DH. You would lose the DH, but you're getting him.
If he actually, I think it's obviously a net positive. I'm not arguing it isn't. If he actually did go in the outfield on the days that he pitched after he was done pitching, then you're right. It would be completely fine. But he doesn't do that. And
okay, so then maybe it's not a full 2 players. Maybe it's a 1.8 or 1.75.
I think 1.763.4.
So, just to be an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah, but I want him to become a free agent just so we can see what happens.
I bet $45 to $50 million AAV.
I think it's gonna be more than that.
Shorter contract though. $50 million, 4 years. $200 million.
No. If I'm him, I'm never signing a 4-year deal. Are you crazy?
Well, you'd be crazy to sign him for more than 4 years.
They're going to have to.
All right, well, I'm not doing it.
Steve Cohen he's definitely not opting out for a 4-year deal.
$200 million though.
Well, it depends where you're going too, because I do believe after the WBC he did get a taste of the good life of what it's like to compete in a real game.
6 years, $300 million.
Oh my God!
Right? Like he's not getting a 9-year contract. I don't think. Because then when if he gets a 9-year contract, the AAV can't be crazy. The AAV has to be more in line with what Judge is getting, which is $35 million, $36 million, 30. What did Judge end up signing for? 36 point. Whatever,
so you're saying that
you're not going to sign him for $1 billion, right?
So he's really just going to be going out there then. See, this is what I don't know. It's making my mind melt because obviously this is a guy that deserves it, but you're right. The economics and with the luxury tax situation, it's preventing him to actually earn what he's worth.
Yes.
Long term.
Long term, you can't do that because you don't know. It's impossible to project what Ohtani's going to be 6 years from now because we've never seen it before. You can project what he's going to be in year 3 and year 4. And so you can make the argument, we'll pay him $50 million AAV for the next 4 years, maybe 5 years, but we can't pay him $50 million in year 8 because he might only be a DH at that point. And then he's definitely not worth that.
Right. Yeah.
But you could pay him the $35 million a year for the 9 years, but that's not his AAV true value.
It's not close.
It's a bargain. In years 1 through 4, but in years 5 through 9, it might
even
be...
still. If he's just an offensive player, even still, it's fine.
No, if he's just an offensive player, if he's just a DH, he's not worth $35 million.
He very well might be. If he's only focusing on offense, you don't know what he's going to do there. Like he very well could be. If he's only an offensive player, he still has the ability to earn that. He still has the ability to do that.
That'd be tough as a just purely.
I'm just saying
DH.
he's got the ability to get close to that as an offensive player if he were only an offensive player.
Yeah, we'll see. Carlos Rodón. So the latest update is that he's going to pitch maybe July 7th versus the Cubs. For a while, we thought it might be July 5th versus the Orioles, but the recent update, Boone said he's going to be in the low 60 pitch range. He's making another rehab start on Saturday, so that's why he's going to be in line for July 7th.
So we were talking about this, is that if he's in line for the 7th, then you have the All-Star break. If I'm the Yankees and Carlos Rodón, we're throwing a sim game, right? Mm-hmm. Because at that point you need to build up arm strength still. If he's only at 60 pitches when he comes up, normally a pitcher would not throw. They would use that at time for rest. But in his case, he needs to ramp up still. And if we're going to do that, we might as well take advantage of the All-Star break and get him up to 80 pitches at that point, or whatever for the next outing. So now we can actually get a full start out of him when the games resume.
Exactly. Throw 63 pitches against the Cubs, then throw 80 pitches in a sim game, and then be ready to go for 95, 100 pitches in your first start after the All-Star game.
So in theory, this is really going to set him up for one start in the major leagues with a regulator with 60 pitches or whatever it is. And then
I think
that's good.
You brought that up before the recording. I think that's a really good idea, is what should happen. That makes a lot of sense.
So it won't happen.
No, definitely.
He'll rest and then come in and throw as hard as he can. And here we go again.
He'll throw 63 pitches against the Cubs, and then
he'll long toss with Frankie Montas. And his back will get injured.
His back will be not quite feeling right, and then
the smoke is back. The smoke is back. 3
years ago, though.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad where I am. I can't even go outside. It's terrible. It's like really, really bad.
Okay. In Jersey today, it was not great, but it was okay. I was outside.
Oh, dude, it's thick, like super thick. Yesterday and then today, it's like coming through the car, coming in the house. It's bad.
I saw a headline. I don't know if this is true. Maybe I got duped. It's made its way to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Doesn't this just make you Like this is where my head goes. Any kind of nuclear thing, we're all fucked.
Oh, this is what makes you think if
I'm just saying it's right in my face
fucked?
now. Now I see what a nuclear cloud will look like, and it's not good. Like I know, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it with my eyes, and I'm like, oh shit, that's just smoke from a fire. Imagine if that were smoke from something else that like is way worse. Bad. That's real bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be real bad, Scott, if there's a nuclear war.
I'm just saying. Yeah, it carries that shit. The atmosphere. The Earth is an amazing thing.
I'm a little disappointed that it was the Canadian wildfires to make you finally realize that a nuclear winter would be bad news for humankind.
How long have you been podcasting with me when you know that I need the eye test? I need to see things with my own eyes to believe what they are. Okay, so I can't believe the nerds that are behind with the lab coats telling me that this is going to happen if a bomb goes off in Middle Eastern Europe, that it's going to affect me. No, I see smoke now, and I believe it.
Nerd test. There's enough nuclear bombs on the planet to blow it up 7,000 times. Eye test. There's a lot of smoke in the air. There's a lot of smoke
in the air. That shit's gonna carry, and it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. I think you guys are getting it like Jersey got it the first time, where everything is just like this weird yellow haze.
It's not even the same. My eyes, like the whole deal. Keeping Kemp inside, it's not good. That's not good. Keeping a 5-year-old inside is not good.
Yeah, we were gonna take Lucy out for a walk today, and we couldn't.
Yeah, we went bowling to burn energy. Okay.
Okay, bowling. So, have you ever gone duck pin bowling?
Not recently, but a long time ago.
The small balls, because that's a Rhode Island thing. That was always bowling to me. Was the duck pin bowling?
A lot of small balls in Rhode Island.
Yeah, a lot of small balls. But that was always bowling to me. And then when I went, I forget where I
that was bowling. That was that was the only bowling that you knew.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah,
you guys didn't have regular bowling alleys in Rhode Island.
We did have regular bowling, but it was so much easier to take a kid to duck pin bowling because they could actually hold the ball. It was like the size of a softball.
Right.
So when I was like 5, bowling. It was duck pin bowling. When I was like 6 years old, we would go to duck pin bowling because I could hold the ball. Just whip that shit.
Yeah. Ow. That sounds like problems with kids, actually.
Elbow was not
all you gotta do
after that.
With Kemp, we just you throw up the bumpers, give him a 6-pound ball, and go to town.
Yeah. Does he like it?
Yeah, he beat Bevan twice. It was embarrassing.
Did she get salty about it?
She was legitimately trying to. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I smoked him.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you take it easy on him?
Oh hell no.
And anything, do you take it easy on him?
No, not really. At
what age though? Because you probably did.
I've dunked in his face.
But at one point did you take it easy on him? Where like you weren't gonna just.
Well, of course, there's like developmental things that I'm not like trying to beat him in, and I'm trying to get him better at. But if we're playing a game against something, I had to teach. You got to teach them how to lose. You got to teach them how to lose, because it's easy to win as a kid. It's so easy to win. Losing, not so much. It's very difficult as a kid to lose, and you got to learn that. And I'd rather him learn it inside the house than throw a fit against kid at school because he lost something. No, we gotta learn that lesson.
So the other day,
I will be swatting his layups for a long time.
The other day, I was legitimately wrestling with Harrison on the floor, and like I told you, he's only 2 years old, just over 2. He's 2 years 4 months, but he's pretty big.
Speaking of bowling balls,
yeah, seriously, and he figured out if he goes for my neck, then it actually beats me.
Nice.
like he just goes full force with his forearm into my neck. I'm
my gosh.
Yeah, I'm like, where did you learn it?
That's a veteran move.
Because like normally it's like I'm playing around with him and it's like he's not actually hurting me. But then he gave me one of those. I was like, oh, that actually like that's gonna take me down because you just took a forearm, 42 pounds, running full force, forearm to the neck.
Can you ask Leanne to videotape that, please?
Oh, she did. I'll send it.
Yes, send it to me. I'm gonna tweet this out.
He was just like pulling my shirt, choking me. I'm just like, Jesus.
That's
Christ.
Awesome. Good man. Good man.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up. It's 10 o'clock at night. Perfect game. That was something. Yankees are back. We got what? St. Louis. St. Louis is a weird team because they have a lot of talent on that team, but they suck. But for whatever reason, like I'm expecting them at any moment to all of a sudden look in the mirror. I'm like, wait a minute, we don't suck. What are we doing? Why are we sucking?
They were the odds-on favorite to start the season to win that division, and handedly too.
I had them in a couple things to get to the World Series.
They're 33-46, last place in their division. Yeah. Yankees will see Montgomery on Friday. Yankees have not announced a starter yet for Sunday. Did I say Friday? I meant Sunday. On Sunday, Monty is pitching. He's got a 3.52 ERA in 92 innings. He could be a trade candidate. We're going to be doing a 2-part trade deadline episode. We decided it'll come out the week of the All-Star game, which is 2 weeks from now. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, Montgomery might be a trade target for some teams.
Yeah, we started doing that last year. It was the in-season GM episode that we normally do off-season, but we're adding one for the trade deadline, which is always fun. So we'll team up again and set up the market in one of the episodes, set up the market and who's got what and who potentially dealing. And in the second one, we'll give you our plans. Those are always fun.
All right. Anything else you wanna discuss?
Got to keep this offense going, man. That's it. It's a big thing. Learn that lesson. Hopefully, a 2-1 loss in Oakland was a rock bottom moment here. Can't do that. Got to score some runs. Keep that going.
It would be that would be a good narrative because rock bottom moment and then following up with the perfect game. Like that's a very clear.
It didn't feel like a rock bottom moment, to be honest. Like, you know how you feel the rock bottom moments?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that wasn't rock bottom. This feels like rock bottom. It didn't feel like rock bottom. I'm saying that now as maybe they'll think it was, but it
especially
didn't feel it for me.
They just won against Texas, which is a good team. And it's like first game on a West Coast trip. It's like, oh, you sucked on the first night of a West Coast trip. Didn't see that one coming.
Okay, so maybe not rock bottom, but maybe just like a really good hard look in the mirror, like what are we doing? Like moment, and you gotta come out with with afterburners at that point, and they did.
Well, putting the perfect game aside, had they lost this series to Oakland, that is potentially a rock bottom moment. Because
that's not good. That's not good.
That's All right, that's gonna wrap
losing
it up.
the series to Oakland and then getting shut down by Jordan Montgomery. Further on the bottom.
Maybe the Yankees could reacquire Montgomery. He'd have to shave though. He's got a beard.
The amount of pitchers that we have that are potentially coming back, I don't even know where you're fitting everybody.
Could always use more starting pitching.
Is Jordan Montgomery Brito or Vasquez or
depends?
Name I don't know.
Are we getting St. Louis Jordan Montgomery or are we getting Yankees Jordan Montgomery?
Well, he's not allowed to throw a fastball, so we're getting the guy here.
Then hard pass. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be back at you on Monday.